Good evening. We are live. It is. Have a quick bit of tea there. You know, us English, we love our tea. You are live with the UK Colts fans podcast show. Today is episode 16, and guys, it's a special one because this guy is. I know he comes in and spares his time to watch our show when he can, and I know he does great work with Lawrence Owen. Coltsloyalist, as you know him. And let's be honest, if loyalty was a trade in modern day football, then this guy would be the number one captain. That is Coltsloyalist. Say hello, pal.
Hello, how you doing today, sir?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. A little pressure now with that intro, but I'll do my best.
No, it's so cool. We take it easy. I just like, it's nice giving a decent intro. You guys do it for me. Lawrence does it for me. So
yeah.
I know who you are, obviously, and the people who watch this show and interact would have seen you commenting from time to time. But do you just want to take a quick couple of minutes to say who you are, what you do, what's your affiliation with the Colts? How did you get to know Indianapolis?
All right. I'm co-host with Colts Law with Lawrence on, like you said. Outside of that, I've been a Colts fan since '84 when they first got here. I live here in Indiana, so it was just a natural fit for me. I was a fan of football and was just sort of, bouncing around from Pittsburgh to San Francisco, and then Indianapolis in '84 made the best choice they could ever have made and got the Colts, and I've been a fan since.
Yeah. Gary's here, Indy in the house. Yeah, nice to see you, Gary. We will get into some topics that the guys can comment on. Loyalist, and I don't mean this just being nice, but you are a very smart guy and very in the know, shall we say, very good, knowledgeable when it comes to what's going on around Indianapolis, at least from what I've seen on Twitter and Lawrence's channel. Camp, obviously the injuries, they're the big one.
Yeah.
Quentin Nelson has turned around and said, I don't give a shit, I'll be back week one from what I saw. And Carson Wentz, a bit more quieter, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's back early enough. What were your initial thoughts when these two injuries came up?
Okay, well, when the Carson one came up, that one bothered me because I really wanted to see him get maximum amount of reps out there with the ones and with Ty. I mean, I know they did a lot of work over the summer and stuff, but it's just different when you've got other guys coming from the other side of the line coming at you. So that one really bothered me. The Quentin Nelson, other than just is this a joke? Reaction, that doesn't bother me as much as the Carson. I mean, Quentin, he's a stud. I mean, he's by far my favorite guy on the team. And like I said, you don't want to see it happen, but I'd much rather it happen now. Like you said, let's get through this thing. Let's get the rehab and let's just get back to work. Mm-hmm. He doesn't miss games. So the fact that, we're already hitting this, this adversity now, I'm fine with it. Because, I mean, let's be honest, the Colts has been living in adversity for about the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. And, I mean, like you said, it's better to happen now than week 15.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I understand the first 5 games are tough. Just a gut feel. I mean, I'm not a doctor, don't play one on TV or anything, but I just really feel like, we're going to start seeing this team start getting stronger and stronger pieces start showing back up, I think, probably around week 2 or week 3. I think from what I've seen of Jacob Eason, I think he's going to be able to, represent us well against Seattle. And quite honestly, Los Angeles was going to be a tall task no matter who's at quarterback. Mm-hmm. So to me, some people are panicking and stuff, and I'm just not, I'm not one of those guys. Like I said, the team has got the right coaching staff, to deal with this stuff. I mean, they've always cross-training. They're always developing. And I'll tell you right now, everything I've seen from Danny Pinter and Chris Reed, I mean, yeah, we're going to take a hit with you, but if he misses 1 or 2 games, those 2 guys are going to be able to fill in for him I think, admirably.
Yeah, and let's not get it twisted. I think a lot of people forget this Colts team is more than just an offensive line. A lot of people seem to think the Colts is an offensive line and that's it. They don't look at the playmakers we have on defense. And when you look at the constant disrespect, I could do a whole 2-hour show on Madden ratings and why it's such a trash game from EA. But when you look at the disrespect DeForest Buckner's getting and Darius Leonard's getting, are you happy that teams are still sleeping on this Indianapolis team?
Like I EA man, whatever, that does not affect the blind. The thing is, I don't think that our opponents are, discounting us that way. I mean, like I said, 84. I'm used to being a small market team being overlooked, and to be honest with you, like DeForest says, let them sleep. Sooner or later, they'll wake up and they'll realize that they're in the Colts nightmare.
Yeah. Talking about, I'll let you into a little secret, and for those who don't know, I am one of Jake Beeson's biggest flag flyers. I think this kid has got the talent to make it. He said before Carson Wentz came in, he's ready to lead this team. Now, I know that's exactly what a backup quarterback's going to say when there's a QB1 spot going, right?
Yeah.
And, people are saying, oh, he's not had a great day. But to be fair to him, he's not had an NFL snap and he's playing against the likes of Darius Leonard, DeForest Buckner. The kid's doing all right against this defense.
Yeah, well, now let's remember Darius hasn't been out there yet. But yeah, like you said, you still got DeForest and Quiddy's been running circles around Sam Tevy, So yeah, it's been a lesson under fire. But like you said, I mean, really, this is what he needs right now. He needs to experience, solid pressure and solid competition because, I mean, we've seen it. We've had quarterbacks that, we think are great, but they're never tested. And then all of a sudden when they're out there, the Scott Tolzien's of the world, you think, all the hype is saying he's ready, and then you get out there and you're like, if this is ready, I'm not like it.
Yeah. And it is hard, especially when we go and draft Sam Erlinger. Someone, because Chris Ballard and Frank Reich and the guys have really built up the culture of you fight for your spot no matter what. And if somebody doesn't have the right mentality, I'm pretty sure, God, I'm quoting somebody's uncle of a friend on a Twitter website or whatever, but I'm pretty sure they get a green beret to do the personality test with the new recruits. And if someone like Jacob Eason, if they didn't think he had the mentality, he could have easily crumbled under this situation. He could have easily come out, lashed out that he didn't get anything in the NFL last year. The guy pretty much redshirted the year. He didn't play a single snap because we didn't have preseason. In training, he could have got in fights. He could have been more of a Cam Newton type, if you get what I mean. He could have been more on the media, but he's not. He's stayed nailed down. Does that speak volumes on his character?
I think so. I mean, you keep listening to the Colts fan, and I know it's a small contingency, but they always want the new shiny toy. It's like now everybody's like, "Oh, Nick Foles, Phillip Rivers," and I'm like, I'm going to put my belief in. I'm going to put all my belief in Ballard in this one. He said, a year ago, I'm going to give this guy a 4th round draft pick to get him. So you know what? I understand that last year didn't go like they hoped, but if you're not going to put him in now, when are you? I mean, really, when are you going to give this kid a chance? I mean, I've been out there between Lawrence and I. We've made it out there, I think, 5 or 6 times. We've missed, I think, one camp. And I'll tell you right now, I know everybody's hyping Sam Ellinger and that thing, but Jacob Eason, he can just make every throw. I mean, to say this kid has a cannon for an arm is just a massive understatement, almost an insult. It's more like a howitzer. I mean, he can make every throw. Yes, he's not real good on the run. I understand that. But these are things that hopefully with our O-line, he'll be able to stay in that pocket better. And secondly, it's not like he doesn't have the ability to get away. It's just that it's not his game.
Mm-hmm. And as much as the league adapts and changes over the years, I don't want my quarterback to be an amazing runner. I really couldn't care less if he could run a 4.42 or a 9.5 40. I really couldn't care. With the O-line we've got, Philip Rivers, and I love Uncle Phil. What a guy. He got sacked 17 times or something like that last season, I think, or even less than that. And
I think it was 19.
Yeah. The guy had one leg, and someone in a wheelchair would have been more mobile. So for someone who's young, who maybe throwing on the run isn't his forte, but he can escape, and he's a big tall lad. He's got to feel confident behind the O-line, even with the injuries in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Because like you said, I mean, these guys that he's playing with this year, these aren't even the guys that he's going to see. I mean, only 2 of our 5 starters are practicing right now, with Ryan with the elbow and then Eric Fisher and Hugh. So the fact that he's been able to withstand the onslaught of people coming at him, and I understand that there's no contact and stuff, but he's still got them in that space. And to sit there and say that he's not performing up to par, I mean, what did he get? 32 snaps, I think Lawrence had quoted, all year last year. So the fact that he came out and started rough, but now you hear yesterday and today that everybody's like, now they're starting to see, okay, yes, now he's starting to get it. He's getting more accurate. Well, there you go. You gave a guy a first week of, getting his feet wet. Now it's just like any other player, it's just everybody wants it instantly. And I'm not worried. Like I said, Frank Reich, the staff that we have, the talent that this kid has. I mean, it's not like Carson's not going to be in his ear, every day. They keep talking about bringing in a veteran. We have a veteran. He just happens to have a boot on right.
Mm-hmm. And the thought what annoyed me is like people instantly were just writing the season off, and people were saying, "Well, at least Philadelphia are not getting a first rounder." And I just thought, what an awful way to look at it. We brought in this kid to give him a restart in Carson Wentz. I say kid, he's older than me, but we brought in Carson Wentz to give him a restart. And people are instantly like, well, that's a season gone, forgetting that Jonathan Taylor had the 3rd most rushing yards last year. That the fact we have this offensive line, the fact Xavier Rhodes had a comeback year, there really is more to this team than the shiny positions, shall we say.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm not going to sit there and tell somebody how to be a fan, but I don't understand it. I don't understand the willingness to just give up on something before we ever even seen it at work, So I'm like you. Let's let this thing play out. We'll see what happens after the 2 weeks. Like Coach today said in an interview, he was talking about other quarterbacks, and he's like, "This is Carson's team. This is not a short-term solution that we're looking at. We're looking at 8 to 10 years. We're hoping that Carson comes out here, gets through this foot thing and plays every game. So maybe he misses week 1, but if he plays 16 games this year, I'll take that. I'll take our chances."
Yeah, and it's I get annoyed in camp season because I hate reading all the tweets, and everyone thinks they can win the Super Bowl. Everyone thinks every other team is rubbish and stuff like that. And what annoys me is just the overreaction is just crazy. It's like, I think people forget they will work on situations where they will favour the defense. They will lean situations towards the defense. They'll lean situations towards the offense. If Jacob Eason's throwing 10 check downs, that's because Frank Reich has told him to go out there and practice that check down. It's really, they tailor situations, and people all of a sudden are like, oh, well, there was an interception. Well, have you not thought about that? Frank Reich's just told Jacob Eason to launch it how far he can without thinking about it.
Yeah, and that makes me think of Lawrence and I. We were having a conversation about this a couple of days ago, where everybody was just like describing this as Ellinger's winning. Ellinger's outperforming Eason and everything, and we're like watching this, and we weren't. We were discussing it. And day one, we're like, okay, well, maybe that's just the hype, and everything. But then day two and day three, and I'm like, we're watching this, and okay, the end result may not have been what, as a fan, you would hope to see a spectacular catch and end up in the end zone. Yeah. But right now, during training camp, I don't care if they end up in the end zone. I care about where's that ball placed. Is he leading the receiver? Is he going through his progression? I mean, and these are the things that, at least in my eyes, that Coach Reich and them, it's like, what was it? The first day open to the fans, everybody was like, oh, Eason looked terrible. Everything was, short passes and stuff. But then you sit there and you find out that the practice was based around third and fourth down and short conversions. It's like, okay, so we're mad that this kid's doing what he's being coached to do? I just don't understand it.
I will bring up something that I don't think has been brought up at all. But obviously, Marcus Brady getting promoted to the offensive coordinator because of I forgot his name. Going his own way. I completely forgot his name. But,
Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, that's it. Nick going out to the Eagles. Have you seen a change in game plan offensively? Or have we not been throwing anything like that at all yet?
I would say that, when they were running shells and stuff, that, yes, I seen a little bit more wide open. But here again, is this because, we're wanting to see what Jacob can do and take him into this? Is this, there's so many variables into that. I don't know that it's Marcus Brady as much as it's just, what the natural progression was going to be for training camp with Jacob being out there. But I can definitely, I assume, and I believe that we saw a little bit of it last year with Marcus being the quarterback coach and his influence. But like you said, I foresee that this year with Carson's mobility and when he gets back in here, that this offense, no knock on Uncle Phil, but this offense is going to be more dynamic. It's going to be a blast to watch.
Yeah. Everyone, I'm just going to say it because everyone laughed when we got Phillip Rivers. Everyone laughed. Like, why do you want Phillip Rivers? He's washed up, come off the worst year of his career. It was a bad move, right? And then all of a sudden, first 5 games were rocky. But like we said, no pre-season, everything going on with COVID and all that. And he got used to the team. We saw in the very first game against the Jaguars, we was god-awful. But after that, you really saw Phillip Rivers and the leader he is and really take charge of this offense. Now, Carson Wentz, everyone laughed when we got Carson Wentz, including myself. I'm not going to lie, before his plane touchdown in Indy, I did not want Carson Wentz. But as soon as he's plane touchdown in Indy, I was like, okay, this guy's QB1, let's go. But do you expect the same level of respect at the end of the season that I think we gave Phillip Rivers?
Okay, now when you ask that, are you saying from the team in the locker room, from the fan, or are you just talking about nationally?
I'm talking about from the Colts fans because obviously we played a lot against Phillip Rivers and I think that clouded a lot of people's judgment about Phillip Rivers. And then at the end of the Buffalo game, okay, it didn't end the way we wanted, but I think everyone was a bit shocked and a bit gutted that he decided to call it quits.
Yeah, I would say that this fan base, because right now I feel like there's 2 types of reactions. There's the folks that are ready to give up on it or have that real knee-jerk reaction of signing a quarterback. Okay, you have those guys that I think they're going to be as quickly persuaded to, join the fan base because Carson's going to start going out there and he's going to start putting wins on the board. And let's be honest, that's really what it all boils down to is, are we winning? Are we, do we have that hope and stuff? And then you've got another contingency of the fan base that I think they're still with Carson in his back. I mean, no, we're not naive and expecting him to come out and be an MVP, but we don't need him to be that. And I love the Carson Wentz. I didn't honestly think at the beginning of the offseason that it was even going to be an option. I really felt like Billy was just going to wake up and figure out, okay, yeah, and resign. So I was a Matthew Stafford guy. I ain't going to lie, but whenever that went by and I seen the price tag on that, I was like, wow. And then I started hearing more and more about the Carson situation. I really took a good deep dive into some of his film room, thanks to Lawrence and stuff. And I'll tell you what, I wasn't a league is end of the world type. Even now last year, I'm not even lying. It was I started looking at 2019 and 2018, and I was like, if the Colts can get that behind our offensive behind this team, just with the defense, the line, the running backs, we are going to be. I mean, we're just going to be tough. And that's not me just trying to be, a homer or anything. I truly believe with Carson Wentz at the helm that the sky is the limit, as long as, once again, certain pieces can stay healthy and we just sit there and give it the time that it needs to progress.
Mm-hmm. And the offensive line is the big piece to Indianapolis. That's the star-studded piece. But I think a lot of people forget how good our wide receiving core is. T.Y. Hilton is the guy for a reason. Nobody knows how he does it. He just disappears into a second level, and then all of a sudden we've thrown for 60 yards. It just happens. And Mike Pittman is a huge stud, and I expect him to get a lot more interactions with Carson this season. And guys like Zach Pascal and Paris Campbell, I expect big things from them. Zach Pascal, I thought, had an excellent year last year. Paris Campbell, obviously, we just need him to stay healthy. This wide receiver core don't get me wrong, is not one of the best in the league. I'm not naive enough to be like, yeah, we have the best wide receiver core, whatever. But it's an extremely talented wide receiver core, especially for a quarterback with a big arm.
Yes, absolutely. And I would suggest that we have one of the more diversified receiving cores. You know what I mean? We've got short, speedy guys. We've got the turn on a dime. We've got the guys that can just hit you with the straight speed. We've got the big physical guys that can go up for, and that's just with the four that you mentioned, not to mention the Michael Strongs and the Desmond Pattons and all these other guys that are just chomping at the bit, just waiting for their opportunity. And then you factor in our tight end group. I mean, it's remarkable to me to watch these guys. Okay, it did not matter. Every practice that I've gone to, it does not matter which quarterback's throwing the ball. These guys are making plays. These guys are just, they're catching everything. If they're not, it's, definitely something that you could see where the tight end was doing what they were supposed to do. Maybe the ball got delivered a little late or whatever. But like I said, I went to training camp and I was more interested in seeing some of the explosivity of some of the injured players like Marlon Mack and Paris Campbell. That was put to bed like within the first 30 minutes of being there, and then it was just like, okay, let's see, what caught my eyes. And like you said, Michael Strong, seeing that kid out on the field and being at the same level that he was and just going, wow, just looking up going, wow, he does stretch exercises and it puts out a shit out of people.
Yeah. So, obviously it's camp, so we sandbag, we hide stuff, we don't show every playbook, every play out the playbook. But the defensive side of the ball, now, I was one of Matt Eberfleece's biggest critics last year, in the sense that I believe he should have blitzed more. With the talent we have, the talent in blitzers that we have in Kenny, Kari, Darius, and many more. Did you see any adaptation to the defensive game plan? Do you feel like he's going to let the reins loose a bit?
I would say that's too early. Because like I didn't. Yesterday was first padded. I had to go to the hospital for my father-in-law, so I haven't been to the last two practices. and everything I saw was in shells. And I would sit there and say that, it's too early to say whether he's, going to be more from the linebackers and safety and corner blitzes, or are we still going to rely on just our down four? But like you said, over the years, I really just don't see Eberflus being a fan of sending the blitz. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's why I like the fact that we are now sort of transferring more into a cover 3 instead of the cover 2, because at least that way it gives your line a little bit more time, a little bit more chances to get, pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah. And it is hard. And the best thing to do is when you only want to rush for is go up and pick up a quitty pay. That is the best thing they could have done. We'll talk a little bit about that, even though the draft seems a lifetime ago at the minute. But for me, one sec, we got a comment from Gary. Johnny's my size. I'm 6'5", in 26, but I'm 64 years old. Lord. Yeah, he's a big guy. 64, just a spring chicken then, Gary. Maybe we'll get Ballard to sign you up. But yeah, anyway, so the draft feels like a lifetime ago. But when Quitty Pay fell to us at 21, I woke up the whole street because it was like 3 a.m. here. What were your reactions?
I was, at the time, I had just started doing the YouTube and getting a feel for it and stuff. I hadn't even done a show like this. And so I was watching Lawrence's there on Colts Law. And it was funny because this guy said, well, if you can guess who's going to get drafted, then I'll donate $50 to Lawrence. So I threw Quitty Pay out there, and I caught all kinds of grief because everyone was like, he's not going to be. I'm like, hey, the guy can dream. So then whenever I sat there and see, 19, and I'm like, he's still there. So I was just like, this is really going to happen, and I'm going to have something to hang my head on because I hadn't got a draft pick right since Quentin Nelson. So yeah, I was ecstatic. Like you said, I mean, my wife was just, she's like, oh, it's dad and it's football stuff. Just tell the kids, don't worry about it.
No, and then, to pick up Deo, who I think we all agree with Chris Ballard, without the injury worries, is a first rounder all day long. And all of a sudden you look at our line with the rotation of Deo, DeForest, Quitty, Grover, Ben, I could go on. This is seriously, it's probably the same as the running back room. It's probably not the best star-studded defensive line, but it is the most talented all-around defensive line.
Yeah. I think I compare them more to our tight ends. We just seem to have DeForest, Buckner, Grover Stewart. They're the Jack Doe, Old Faithful type, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you've got the young, dynamic, Quitty Pay and even Isaac Rochelle, who's been having an amazing camp. And those are more of the Kylan Granson, let's see what we got with this, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I do understand what you're saying. And there again, it's, pick your flavor. Do you want a power rush? Do you want a speed rush? Do you want somebody that can bend? I have to believe the reason that Eberflus isn't a head coach yet is because he loves what the toys that Ballard gives him. And I just feel like he's trying to complete something, this puzzle, this, top 5, top 3 defense. Yeah. And I was early on, I had stated that I thought, okay, yeah, we might slide back a little bit instead of, maybe top 10, top 12 defense. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you right now, the mentality and just seeing, I don't put a lot on the rookies. I'm a firm believer, year 2, year 3. Every once in a while you get that amazing Andrew Luck type rookie year or whatever, but it's not expected for me, Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you right now, watching Quitty Pay out there this last week and a half, it's just been the explosion he has off the ball. And there's been times like where I'll see him, he's 2 yards in the backfield before the tackle's even fully, taking his drop step. And to me, if he's anything like that in pads, I am telling you right now that I choose the right to re-amend my situation on this defense.
And the thing is it's Chris Ballard had to came in and take over a mess of a show that the Indianapolis Colts were before he took over. And he took over and he really believes in the philosophy of build from the in to the out. You know, Colts fans were used to just getting who was the shiniest toy on the board with Grigson in charge. It was just, I want the next big receiver, bloody blah. Just went and picked whoever. He probably watched the YouTube highlight reel and went, yeah, that guy would do. Whereas Chris Ballard's actually come in and, you know, really got to know the team and the culture and the locker room. And he's built this aura of Indy is now a team where people want to come. We wasn't, for a long time, we was not a team where people wanted to come. You know, all the free agent vets who just want one last chance to go at it. And the thing is, people are happy to play for a team like this. But then there's money. And the big thing is now coming up is Darius Leonard. I believe to now we still don't have the numbers of what he's getting paid. Braden Smith, obviously, was it around the 20 mark, if I remember right?
No, it was just over 18, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, okay. How do you keep a team that is seemingly so talented, so happy when a guy's getting paid this much or this guy's getting paid that much? Is that all down to the GM?
I can't believe it. I mean, I really don't. I mean, yes, the GM he's got to be a salesman. He's got to get these guys to buy in, the coaching staff. But there again, I believe it. When you really boil it down, it comes to the players. It comes to their mentality. It comes to what is important to them. They want to be part of this team. Like you said, they want to be part of this culture and building this winning environment. They're not looking for the one or two good years and get a big payday. I mean, they all want to get paid. I'm not naive in saying that. But what I mean is it's a brotherhood. I mean, it's like you listen to the interview from Kari today, and that's, I mean, he spent 3-4 minutes just talking about, no, man, I'm out there for Julian Blackman. I'm out there for Bobby Okereke. I mean, these guys are really there, you know, to go to battle with these guys and to see what what I told Law watching it the other day. It was sort of cool because these guys are rooting for each other. You know, I mean, it's like DeForest sat there and Will Price was having a rough day. And then there at the tail end, he put together like 2 or 3 very solid, plays and stuff. And then the first guy that was over there to dab him up and tell him good job and stuff was Grover Stewart, talking to an offensive player. And I'm just like, I love this team. I love that mentality. And I mean, I think that starts with the owner, and it is just, it just goes down the chain because these are football men. I mean, they're not naive. They realize there's the business aspect to it. But I really believe that they're just football guys, and who wouldn't want to play for that? That's my take on it, at least.
And, we have been through the shit, as bluntly to say it, as Colts fans. Gary saying team first, yeah, 100%. And it's hard nowadays in the day where everybody thinks they're the best, don't they? Everyone thinks they are the best athlete. You look at Chase Claypool saying the Browns were the Browns, everyone thinks they're better. And Chris Ballard has come in and managed to ego check this franchise and say, well, actually, no, we need to seriously rebuild here. And he has done that to his credit. To his critics as well, a lot of people still criticize him. I don't know why, but they still do. But yeah, I think after the Buffalo's loss, and I said this, I thought was honestly is Buffalo may be a great team, but at that moment, I felt proud to the Colts, and the Colts felt like a family, and that was the difference for me. The difference was Buffalo. It's easy to be great, and it's easy to lead when you're winning, as the old cliche goes. It's when you're down and out, it's hard. But I didn't see a Colts team that after lost that was down and out. They was just ready to. They just wanted to go back to camp straight away and get to it.
Yeah, and I can't. You mentioned that Buffalo loss, and I mean the game was hard, but I didn't believe the team was. They weren't ready. I mean, we showed week one. We weren't able to close out the deal. There were some things that we're lacking. So I felt like the outcome wasn't that overwhelming to me. The thing that bothered me is whenever you watch them walking off the field and you see Darius Leonard and Anthony Walker talking, and they're just like, "Love you, man," and you hear them mic'd up, and I was just like, you know what? And they knew. I mean, like I said, I think they knew going in that could possibly be, the last time that they were on the field together, and unfortunately, it is. I mean, at least to this point. And like you said, I mean, that's when I realized, you know what? You guys can sit there and act like, next shiny toy, but these are men. They're prideful. They're strong. They're players, yes, but they're just as big of fans as we are out there, if not bigger.
Yeah. It's cheesy, and don't get me wrong, I love American cheese. I love the American cheese. Remember the Titans is one of my favorite films. I love that sort of thing. I love the happy ending, but there was a real sense of, just happiness that even though we lost, and quoting Ted Lasso of anything, it's better to be sad together than sad alone. And then guys were, and it felt wrong because it was gutting. But for me, it was happy, if you get along. It felt like we had progressed, and that's what I was happy with. And if I see a team, okay, let's say injury played, we don't make the playoffs, but we played better than we did last season, I'll still be happy. I don't care. Football always comes back next year. And I think
absolutely.
You got to have a short memory. I think that's what people forget.
Yeah, and I'm like you. I like the cheese too. I like this is a happy story.
But you know what? We like the cheese.
But and that's like everybody's talking about all this adversity that we're going through now and stuff. And you know what? As a fan base, we're all feeling it. I think more than these guys are out in the field because they're not, like Quentin Nelson today. He's like, I ain't got no effing pity party. You know what I mean? He goes, I'm going to come out here and you just touch it. And I was just, and then, go back to Darius, what was it, 2 days after the Buffalo game or whatever, 2 or 3 days? He was like, if you're coming here, he goes, you better be ready. I mean, just that mentality, even after losing to Buffalo, he's like, you better be ready to work. This isn't, this isn't no kiddie game over here in Indiana. I just love that mentality.
Yeah. Okay, moving on then. Players we love. For me, it's the best slot corner in the game, Kenny Moore, or whatever you want to call him. For me, I mean, I could go on forever about Kenny Moore and how good he is. For me, in the next 5 years, he's not just going to be the best slot corner. He's going to be the best corner in the game, regardless of size. I think he's fantastic. Is there anyone who you want to see MVP quality out of this year, let's say?
My guy is always going to be Quentin Nelson. I mean, but, to say that, barring injuries, I don't ever see us getting anything less than that from him. Mm-hmm. So as far as who do I hope see excel to that level, that's not Carson Wentz. I would have to say I really, really want to see us, like you said, get some more sacks and stuff. So I'd like to see Kimoko Toure really just have this explosive. I mean, I want to see double digit. I firmly believe he can get double digit sacks this year. Oh, and if we can get that from him on the edge, along with Grover and DeForest and Taekwon on speed packages in the middle, then all we've got is one more defensive end that we got to fill that slot with, and let's go.
Yeah. I lost my train of thought there, but have I got it back? Yeah, I've got it back. This season, obviously, it's a big one. It's a long one. Now, more now than ever, we can appreciate how Chris Ballard has built his team through competition for places rather than namesake. And I think as fans, although we're not going to agree with some decisions, that's just natural. You're allowed to. You're a fan. You have an opinion to it. We have to understand it's a 17-game season. It's a long, long time for these lads. So we might not see the strong offensive line that in there every down of every game.
Yeah. And to your point, I mean, some of the guys that I'm really stoked about that we picked up that just really didn't get the publicity and stuff are the Chris Reeds and the Isaac Rochelle's. I mean, just on both sides of the interior line. I mean, it just really, that depth. I mean, last year, if we'd have had the injuries that we're experiencing now on the O-line last year, I mean, we think this is looking a little rough. That would have been horrendous. I mean, you think about it, we would have had what? LaRaven Clark and Chaz Green both out on the line. Oh man, I'm glad I didn't see that. So yeah, I mean, like I said, you've got Danny Penter out there, you've got Chris Reed out there on the interior. You know, we haven't seen Julian Davenport. Mm-hmm. I'm not really hoping for a lot there. But then you turn around and, like you said, you look at these defensive linemen, and I mean, I honestly believe that this year the Colts are going to be cutting some defensive linemen that are just going to get scooped up by other teams because of the amount of talent that Ballard and competition that he's put out on that field.
Yeah. Okay, so moving into the sort of end section of the show, there's questions I ask everyone who come on. Don't worry, I'm not keeping score. It's no pressure. But it's just for a bit of fun. So the Oklahoma drill, you have Quentin Nelson on one side and DeForest Buckner on the other side. Who's going to win that battle? Obviously, no injuries.
Yeah, no, that's cute.
Yeah,
I'm going to give that one to Big Q.
And the next one, you can think of the best Colts offense you could ever put together, and I mean ever put together. And it's the last drive of the Super Bowl, and you need a touchdown to win it. You are the head coach and all that. You get one choice to make. That's your quarterback. You've either got Captain Comeback in Andrew Luck, or you got the Sheriff. Who are you choosing to?
I'm going Peyton Manning every day. I mean, no knock. Obviously, no knock on these other guys. Are great. No, Peyton. If for one play, I would give it to Peyton every day.
Excellent. Well, what can I say? Coltsloyalist, thank you for joining me. Is there anything before we go that you would like to bring up, or a shining star that you've seen in camp that isn't getting the press that you want to shout out?
Yeah, it's just those two guys I was talking about earlier. I think Isaac Rochelle and Danny Penter both stepped up, especially with Ryan Kelly being out so much. Mm-hmm. And Isaac Rochelle, I was a fan of him. I'm a fan of Notre Dame football, so I was a fan of him in college, but I didn't really see a whole lot of him when he went to the Chargers. And I'll be honest, I was sort of like on the fence and everything. But man, every day I've seen at least one or two flashes from him, you know, that I'm just like, this guy, I mean, he's really going to push the competition. And I love that. Like you said, I love that competition. So on the offense and defense, those would be my guys.
Excellent. Well, this has been UK Colts fans. We've been talking Colts football now for 45 minutes. I'd like to thank Coltsloyalist for joining me. It's always a pleasure to connect. You just quickly want to throw out your Twitter, what you do. Gary's saying, thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure, Gary. Make sure you come back. Tell your friends about us. Just a quick shout out to what you do and who you are.
All right. I'm a co-host with Lawrence Owen on Colts Law. I'll be honest with you. I'm just there trying to gain knowledge from the man. He's amazing. My Twitter is Coltsloyalist56. So Q. And you guys, we do live streams every day after training camp that we are able to make it. You know, that way we can give your honest opinion. And just hope to see you guys, and smash that like button over here on this one, guys.
Thanks so much for joining us. See you all later.